This is so hard. In black and white, you committed to a trip, you have to pay for it. But black and white doesn't exactly matter when you add context, and there's so much context here.
You should be able to ask with no hard feelings and hold an adult conversation. Hey, why wasn't I invited? I'm just curious.
Would you want to be invited to theirs, or would not being invited to theirs be like a relief to you?
I see why you're upset. Like, it's rude to be like, we're going on a group trip and you're not invited. That's weird.
Are you never allowed to talk about plans you have with people unless they were invited?
Right.
So are you never allowed to bring up an event that you're planning with any friend or family member that's not invited? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your favorite podcast. It's called Stop the Internet Podcast. I'm Kelee.
And I'm Erin.
Blue is in the room. Oh, here he is.
Here he is.
He's being a menace right now. Okay.
Anyway,
Erin's dressed in her Olympic athleisure.
Yes, happy Summer Olympics to all those who celebrate. Happy Paris 2024.
Have you heard all the tea about the Olympians?
No.
You know how they like all party and like hook up with each other?
Yeah.
I read this article on ESPN that was basically saying that as the Olympics go on, the Olympic Village becomes more and more like a dorm room at a crazy party because more and more people are finishing up their contest.
Yeah.
And every night's like a bender, and people will be coming home, I guess, sunrise when other Olympians are going out to their daily contest, like passing each other as they're like wasted.
Yeah.
And then I saw a TikTok, I don't know who it was, but it was a guy, I guess maybe he was an Olympian, saying that, you know how like the Olympic condom thing? They like give out tons of condoms because they know people are like partying and hooking up and stuff. And he said that there was a bucket of condoms. And so he just dumped all of them into his bag because he was like, well, I'm going to take these home to my friends. They're like Olympic brand. This is going to be my souvenir. But I think that's why they overestimate how many condoms get used, because they're like thousands get used or hundreds. And it's like, no, one person just takes all of them and then they restock and the same thing happens probably.
That makes sense. Yeah, they definitely overestimate what gets used.
Blue might have to get kicked out.
Blue is definitely getting kicked out of the studio.
Fun fact about Blue, everyone says don't put a dog in their crate when you're disciplining them, but Blue has hated being confined since the day he was born. So he never liked the crate. He always hated it. It was never a safe space for him. So he only goes in the crate when he's being punished.
Sometimes he does sleep in there at night, though.
Yeah,
he's
some
okay
nights.
with it.
We did crate train him in the beginning,
And he still never liked it.
He still never liked it, but he was being trained to go in every single night.
Yes, he would go in at bed for bedtime.
But that was the only time that he consensually went in, and all day. I think he doesn't like being confined when he knows there's opportunity happening near him. Like if people are home, he would never step foot in that crate.
He also doesn't like small rooms, though. Like he's always been that way. Like elevators, if it's little and enclosed, he doesn't like it, and that's what his crate is.
I think he also just doesn't like being confined, because when he was really little, when he would discover a door, even if he didn't know what was on the other side, when he discovered that it was a door, he would cry at it because he wanted to go and have access to everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, he's leaving.
Bye, Blue.
Bye, Blue. Let's get to the topic at hand.
Okay, speaking of crazy parties in small spaces, today we're talking about bachelorette parties and all the drama that comes with them.
Yes.
I think we have done an episode like this in the past. I think Jimmy and I spoke about it, but I'm looking at it with a new lens. Yes. And we're going to talk about different scenarios and things. So,
okay. How many bachelorette parties have you been on?
One.
Actually,
so I'm a real expert. You've been on one?
I think so.
Okay. Where was it?
At the Jersey Shore.
Sorry if you can hear Blue crying. He's being abused right now.
By no one.
By himself. Literally himself. He's doing it to himself. He's just looking at nothing and he's crying.
And he's gone.
Okay, he's gone. Goodbye, Blue.
Bye, Blue. He'll be back. Don't you worry.
Oh, he's looking at me like a menace.
Okay, so disclaimer, Blue couldn't handle being in the studio. Another problem we have is that there's not air conditioning in the studio and it's very hot because it's soundproof. And I was sweating, so I had to take off my Olympic apparel. So things are going to shit right now.
This is her formal statement. No questions asked.
Yeah, no questions. Kenny took Blue. We're done. I don't know where he took him. He's not our problem anymore. Anyway,
Yours was at the Jersey Shore?
Yes.
Okay. The one that I went to was at Rehoboth Beach in Delaware, so basically the same thing.
Was the president there?
Yes.
Okay.
He was first on the invite list.
Nice.
It was very chill, but I just have so many thoughts because some of the stories that I pulled, they reminded me a lot of just group trips and how people handle friendship dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
And people just have to chill, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should I just jump into one?
Yeah. Yeah, wait, thinking back, I've had a lot of friends that literally didn't do bachelorettes. And
Really?
it's like, why are we all lame, you guys? No,
Did
a
they
lot
just
of it
not
was,
have them?
a lot of it was during COVID. So people
Okay.
didn't have them, yeah.
Wow, if someone said they weren't having one now, I feel like that would be crazy.
Yeah.
Now it's
True.
like a staple.
Yeah.
I feel like you're going to have a lot of thoughts on this one.
Oh my God.
Lack of interest in my bachelorette. Long story short, I'm having a bachelorette party in a few months and have invited a few girls. I was originally very excited about this as I never do anything for myself and have never done an event for myself with girlfriends. I never do birthday events for myself or anything celebrating me. I'm very low-key. Anyway, I planned a whole weekend away and all the girls have said they're interested, but now I'm trying to book it and no one is showing any interest or replying. It's really disappointing and has hurt my feelings, and I'm getting to the point where I don't even want to go. Did any of you ever have the same experience? What did you do and how did you handle it? Did you end up not doing a party and how did you break it to everyone? I don't want to embarrass myself by confronting them about it.
I have so many friends who have done this on group trips. People are so flaky.
I
There are
know.
very minimal, reliable people out there. So I do have a lot of feelings about this. I've had friends like do this exact thing where they like commit. You find a big enough house for everyone. And then all of a sudden 3 of them are like, well, I wasn't really committed. I was just interested. And it's like, well, I need to know if you're going to go, yes or no. I actually have a friend who this happened to on her bachelorette, planned a bachelorette party. So many people committed. They all, Venmo, did their dues.
Oh, they
whatever,
actually Venmo'd?
except for one person.
Okay.
And then this person didn't show up to the bachelorette after committing, saying, I'm in that weekend. I'm good. Count me in for everything. Then they booked all these excursions, events, everything they did for enough people. This person didn't show up and then just never sent the money. And it cost the people throwing it like so much extra money because they paid for this person to do all these things.
Right.
So she actually ended up getting uninvited to the wedding because she was like, we can't be friends. I can't be friends with someone who just like stood up my sisters, because I think her sisters planned it. She was like, you stood up my sisters, you cost them a lot of money and the least you could do is pay your dues. Like, how are you just going to say you're committed and then completely ghost when the weekend comes?
That's so messed up.
I know.
Oh my God, I'd be furious.
Exactly. I wasn't even involved and I'm furious.
It's so annoying that people are all talk.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
For almost everything, but especially group trips and traveling.
Yes.
But even for like local events, people are all talk. Like everyone loves the idea of doing things. Everyone loves being a yes man and being like, yes, 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 I'm in, let's do it. And then when it comes down to it, nobody actually wants to physically move. Like it's so annoying.
I know. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going unless something serious comes up. Like I can't stand the like, yeah, let's do it. And then it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You're doing it or you're not. And you knew from the start you weren't going to do it.
And also, I feel like when it comes to group trips and bachelorettes, like you have to be okay with paying for your part of it, even if something comes up and you can't go.
Yes.
So don't commit and don't say yes if you don't want to go and if you can't pay for it or if you just
Right.
don't want to pay for it. Like,
Right.
I also think that it's fine if you want to say no to bachelorettes because I can see how, like, even if someone has the money, like a lot of people have $1,000, but not everyone wants to spend $1,000 to go to a beach town for somebody else. And I get that. I have like different opinions when it comes to like weddings or bachelorettes because destination weddings, I feel like you can make your own. There's a few wedding events on like a welcome party or rehearsal dinner, obviously the wedding day, and maybe like a brunch or something. But for the most part, you can do whatever you want.
You also don't have to go to all those things. You only
Right.
you could get away with just going to the wedding if you wanted to.
Right.
Yes.
But more, I mean, like if you wanted to go and like make it your own vacation, I feel like you could do that.
Yes.
Whereas if you go to a bachelorette, like let's say you go on a boat in the Caribbean for a wedding, I think it would be fair to take photos with your friends, your partner, whoever, and post the photos on the boat and be like, we're in the Caribbean. Woo!
Yes.
that would be fine.
Yes.
If it was a Bachelorette, why do I feel like that would be weird? Like, I feel like you can't
could still do that. I feel like you could still do that, but you can't peel off and do your own thing.
Yeah, but I also don't think I don't know, like Erin and I are going on a Bachelorette in the near future, and we are going on a boat, and I cannot imagine posting a picture of me and another friend, but not the bride, and being like, and just like not addressing the wedding whatsoever. Like, I feel like the only reason we're there is because of her. I don't know. Or is that not weird? Am I thinking too far into it?
I just don't think that seriously about posting pictures.
Yeah, neither do I.
Think the analogy you're using is bad.
Okay.
Like, if you want to go to an away wedding.
Wait, it's not even an analogy though. Like, it's
okay. The example,
literal.
what you're talking about is different. Like, who cares about photos? Like, think what you want.
Yeah.
But
I guess
a destination wedding, what you can do is make your own trip out of it. A Bachelorette, you cannot. You cannot be like, hey guys, like, I'm gonna skip the boat so that I can go out and like have my own dinner with my close friend. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
The Bachelorette is meant to be the Bachelorette.
Yeah.
Like, my friends like to do a group trip where we just use my birthday as the excuse to go away in the winter, but at the same time everyone is taking PTO to be there, so if they want to go off and do their own thing for a day, like, we don't think twice about it. It's like, go ahead, you don't literally have to like worship at my feet because we used my birthday as the excuse for the trip. If you want to go to another town for a day because your girlfriend's whatever, like, you took the time to be here. This is a group trip. But if it was a Bachelorette, we have an itinerary, and it would be very weird if you left.
Yeah.
That's
totally.
where it's different.
Yeah, that's such a good example. Okay, yeah, I see what you mean about the like photos is just like a small part of it, but it's more about like making something your own.
Right.
And you can't make anything your own on a Bachelorette.
Like the Bachelorette we're going to, how weird would it be if I was like, hey guys, I actually have other friends in this town, so I'm going to skip dinner tonight so I can go hang out with them.
Right.
That's different. Whereas if you're on a group trip and everyone's kind of like, let's just do what we want for dinner.
Right.
Or if you're at a destination wedding, you can be like, yeah, you know, people are going to go hang out and do this, that, or the other. I'm not going to make it to that. That's different.
Yeah. Like, I'm just thinking if you just on a Bachelorette, if you were just like, hey guys, I'm going to not do dinner tonight and I'm going to go and meet up with some other friends. Like,
exactly.
Everyone would be writing into a podcast about you.
Yes. They would be like, this bitch.
Yeah. Should I still invite her to my wedding after this? Anyway, I feel like with group trips, it annoys me so much because people are so flaky and everyone loves saying yes and literally committing to things. Like, I feel like people, it's not even just like, yeah, I could be in. Like, that's just the first step. But then it's literally being like, yes, I would love to. Let's definitely go. I'm 100% in. And it's like, no, you're not. Right. Because how many people have said that to me? And it's like,
oh, yeah.
I actually have a theory and I kind of wrote it down. It kind of goes along with the next story. I'm going to read the next story because my theory kind of goes along with it. My friend isn't responding to my Bachelorette party invitation. Should I confront her? I'm getting married and my two best friends are planning my local Bachelorette party. Today I learned that one of my other friends who was invited has not responded to their emails or texts about the Bachelorette. The unresponsive friend has been a friend of mine for a while, but we haven't been in touch as much because she moved and has been doing a lot of traveling for work and leisure. She's posted on social since receiving the Bachelorette invite, so I know that she is alive and okay. My question is, should I reach out to this friend and ask her about this? We didn't have a falling out or anything. I feel kind of weird doing it since I'm not coordinating. Here's my theory. I feel like sometimes you need to pressure people because people are too like weak or embarrassed or just like insecure about giving a straight answer. But that's also inconsiderate. Therefore, they just decide to like put it off and avoid answering any questions about it, hoping that you'll forget about them and stop asking, or just kind of like infer that they don't want to come and they're not coming because of their lack of response. And if that happens, they will not have to do the hard thing, which is telling you the truth that I just don't want to go or I can't go or something like that. And I feel like that happens all the time in group trips. Like, people will be like, yeah, I'm in. And then as it gets closer, as decisions are actually being made, they're not answering in the group chat, or like they're answering every part of your text except the one that's like, are we doing this hotel? Are we doing this flight? Mm-hmm. And then it gets to the point where you're like, wait, are they coming? I feel weird now, confronting them.
I think there's multiple caveats to everything you're saying. Like, I'll use me as an example. When people ask me to make plans like very far in advance, which I do have to make plans very far in advance because I'm so busy with like, I have multiple jobs, podcast, like things like that. And now I have a puppy, like I have to have someone to watch the puppy. I really do have to make plans very far in advance. But at the same time, when plans are being made very far in advance, I literally have commitment issues because I'm like, what if something happens and I can't make it? Like I panic. So if I were to get the text that says like, hey, do you want to come to this Bachelorette? And I'm actually undecided, like I don't have like a hard no reason. And I'm like, oh, I would like to go, but I'm scared to commit. Sometimes I will put off answering. And then also sometimes I really genuinely will forget. I'll put it off for the first 2 days and then I forget. And that's one thing. But I think from the person who sent the invitations perspective, I definitely feel that no answer is your answer. Like if someone doesn't respond, you don't need to pressure them. You can take that as no, they're not going, and go about planning your trip. Don't be like, oh, I'm scared to pressure. Just don't. Like how you were saying, like the people might think that they're getting off easier by not having to say no. Well, let them. Who cares? Yeah. Seriously, who cares? But if it's someone that you really want there, don't feel weird asking them. Just be like, hey, sent you this invite, just following up. We're going to make plans. I just want to know if you're a yes or no. Yeah. There is nothing weird about following up. But if you really are like, oh my God, I just want a yes or a no, just take it as a no and move on. Who cares?
I guess what I was thinking, it's more when people say yes, and then as like the actual planning gets closer, then they start becoming more distant. Like then I feel like it's because they're like too scared to just tell you the truth, which is like, I'm flaking out on you, I'm backing out of the trip. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. I guess that if someone just straight up never answered, I would be confused, but after a while I would just take it as okay, I'm not even gonna worry about you. I think it's more when it's they already committed, they already said yes, showed interest, and now they're not answering.
Yes. And it's one thing to do that and then be like, hey, would you be interested in this? And like, yes, I would be interested. And then when we're actually planning, be like, guys, I'm so sorry. Like, I realized I can't go, even if it's just for the price. Like, I realized I can't go. That's fine. But don't let me book so many hotel rooms so that you have a bed and I could have booked one less room or something. Like, don't cost me extra money. Just tell me. I'm going to be way less mad if you just tell me.
And also, like, if you are interested and not committed, I feel like there's a better way to say it than being like, yes, interested, because I feel like a lot of people would take that as a yes, like just to cover your own ass and your own friend's ass. If you aren't 100% like, I'm going almost regardless of the cost, the flights, like I'm in almost 100%. Just tell them, possibly not going to commit. Don't include me in the planning. I'll figure it out if I want to join you later. I'll get my own hotel room. I'll get my own flights. I'll book my own shit.
Yes.
Therefore, you're not going to come off as a dick, and your friends aren't going to be SOL and out of money, out of whatever, out of time for planning, you know.
Exactly.
I also think with group trips, like especially the first scenario where she asked all her friends, they all said they were interested, and now basically no one's answering and no one's saying yes. I feel like you have to get one other person that's absolutely in, maybe two other people that are 100% in, and you can plan it together regardless of what happens. You guys are going together and think that it's going to be nice for everyone else to go. But honestly, with the rate that like things are going, that like, you know, situations in my life that I'm seeing, I would just like expect no one to go.
I know.
You know, in the end.
The other thing is you also can be firm with your friends. Like you can message that group and be like, hey guys, I just want to follow up. Everyone said they would be interested. I actually need to start planning. Can I get some definite answers? That's not rude.
No, not at all.
Harsh. It's just firm. It's just like I need yeses or nos. And if they're all saying no, it's like, okay, fine. Then you move on. And yeah, maybe you're upset, whatever, but we move on. If people say yes, then let's plan. This thing where people were like, yeah, showed interest and now they're not answering, you got to stand up for yourself. I don't know.
Yeah. It is so hard planning group trips though and bachelorettes because I don't know. It's just like, I guess a bachelorette is a little more like one time in your life than some other things. So people are more likely to, or probably more likely to say yes rather than like, oh, let's just plan a group trip to the Bahamas because that's like everyone's dream. But then when it comes down to it, it's like, oh, wait, that's actually not my dream.
Of course.
But a bachelorette, I feel like a lot of times people go because they feel like they have to.
Absolutely. It's like same thing with like bridal showers and like honestly, even weddings. It's like sometimes you get invited to like a friend of a friend's wedding and you're like, I have to go to this.
Wait, I wrote that down with another story. I'll do it next about invitations and like getting invited to things. And I think invites are so weird because it can be so offensive and confusing if you're not invited to something. But at the same time, being invited and the possibility of attending is such a huge commitment that sometimes you don't want that either.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's hard to find an in-between.
I know. I have multiple friend groups where it's like we were all very close in college and then it kind of fell off, and like multiple people in the friend groups are still very close, but not everyone's close with everyone. And people are getting married. And this is multiple friend groups. I'm not speaking to just one like person or anything in particular. I've seen it play out multiple times. And everyone in every friend group still gets invited to every wedding. And it hits a point where it's like, I haven't spoken to some of these people in 2 years just because they spoke to someone else who spoke to me. I haven't spoken to that person in 2 years. So if I'm getting married in a year from now and I'm sending out save the dates, do I have to invite them because they were in the friend group? And I actually just had this conversation with one of my friends in one of the multiple friend groups. And we were like, who's going to draw the line? Who is going to be the first person to say, I can't invite all these people? And that also stands with our family. We've had this talk. We have a huge extended family. Many of them have peeled off. They don't go to Christmas. They don't go to Easter. They don't go to Thanksgiving. We've even talked to our family members about this, and like within our family we have a huge extended family, and there are family members that sort of peel off and do their own thing, and when they don't come to Christmas and they don't come to Thanksgiving and they don't come to Easter, or even if it's like a graduation party, they don't come to any of these things because for whatever reason, maybe you choose the other side of your family, maybe you just aren't interested and you want to do your own thing. It's fine. I'm not offended by it, but if the only time I've seen you in my entire life is Christmas and I haven't seen you in the last 4 Christmases, the only time I've seen you in the last 5 years is at a funeral, I have to pay for you to be at my wedding?
Yeah, or it's like offensive.
You haven't wished me a happy birthday in my 29 years on this planet just because you are my mom's brother's kid or whatever, like my mom's sibling or my dad's sibling or my dad's cousin, whatever you are, literally. If I haven't spoken to you in 5 years just because you were blood related and you were around at some point in my life, it's incorrect for me to not want to pay $300 for you to be at my wedding.
Yeah.
You don't care about me. If you did, you'd reach out.
I do think it's changing a little bit though, as weddings are costing so much more.
Yeah.
And also as people are realizing this and saying it out loud, and it was tradition to invite every single person in your family and everyone you've ever been friends with to your wedding. But now I do think that it's starting to change because people are starting to talk about it and like realize this more. And I just saw TikTok like probably yesterday, the day before, and it was this guy being like, I'm gonna plan a big party, and someone's like, oh yeah, I love that, but it's gonna be in a year and a half from now, and I'm gonna spend way too much money on it, money that I don't even have, and I'm gonna invite everyone that I've ever met that I don't even talk to. I don't like them and they don't like me, but they're still gonna be invited and I'm still gonna pay for it. And the person he's talking to is like, oh. And like as he's like describing all the things that people do with weddings, like I'm going to spend hundreds of dollars on a suit and dress that I'm only going to wear once. And I'm going to ask my friends and family to do the same and yada, yada, yada. And the friend's like, oh my gosh. And the last line he's like, and I'm going to call it my wedding.
Exactly.
And that's so real.
And I understand the argument of like, well, it's a once in a lifetime and this is a huge event that like you should have your family members around for. But at the same time, it's like, if they're not around for the small things, why should I expect them to be around for the big things? Like, especially if I'm limited in money or space at my wedding, there are friends in my life who maybe I'm not as close with now, but I was closer with, 2 years ago than I am with my aunt that I was close with 7 years ago. And it's like, okay, I have one seat at my wedding. Who do I invite? I have to invite my aunt. She hasn't said hello to me in 7 years. And the last time 7 years ago was a funeral. You know what I mean? So that's where it's hard, because it's like, I would rather my friend that even though I haven't seen them in 2 years, I'm not saying my aunt doesn't love me, but they loved me and checked in on me much more recently than that person did.
Yeah, it's really hard to figure out like who you should be inviting to things. And yeah, I have so many thoughts about like who's invited to weddings and who's not. But then it also does come down to like who's paying for it, because they also have a lot of say. And I don't know, it's so hard. I am very curious about when I get married in the future, which is not going to be anytime soon. What decisions will I make that I'm either going to like eat my words or like practice what I preach all these years.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I definitely went through this with some friends. Like, for example, one of the friend groups that we were kind of like, we don't talk to everyone in this friend group. Like, who's going to draw the line and not invite them? And I remember a few years ago having this talk with one of my close friends being like, honestly, like, I don't think I'm going to invite X, Y, and Z to my wedding. I don't see them. I don't talk to them. Like, they're not around. Why should I have to invite them? And I'm like, in theory. And my friend like looked me dead in the eye and she was like, well, here's the thing. I'm engaged. It's not in theory for me. She's like, what it comes down to is I'm going to be the one to draw that line. And am I ready for the backlash of like, are we not friends anymore? What happened? Like what? And she's like, do I feel like dealing with that? No, she's invited to my wedding. And I'm like,
that's crazy.
I'm like, yeah, that sucks. I hope someone else draws the line before I have to, but I do feel like I probably would be to an extent. And if there was backlash, like why wasn't I invited? I'd be like, well, you haven't come to any, and this, I'm talking family, friends, anything. Why wouldn't X, Y, and Z be invited to my wedding? You haven't come around in so many years. Why should I pay for you to be at my wedding when you don't care to be there on Christmas?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it is hard with friends too, that you're like, we were friends in the past and now we are friends like by proxy, because it's really hard with the people that it's like, I was friends with them for so long and now you trick yourself into thinking that you're friends with them now. But if you were to write it down in black and white and explain it to a stranger about today, how often you talk and see and hang out.
Yes.
A stranger would be like, oh, that doesn't sound like a friend at all. That sounds like someone you used to be friends with.
History.
And yeah, and I'm not going to invite every person that I was friends with in high school and grade school.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's so hard.
Yeah. No, I agree. But then it's so hard too, because it's like when you make that argument about family, it's like, oh, I can't invite someone I was friends with just because we had class together 10 years ago. Like, I can't just invite them. I don't talk to them now. Well, so then am I supposed to invite my uncle that came around 10 years ago and now doesn't come around at all?
If you're going off of tradition and what a traditional wedding is, it's a family-oriented event. So traditional values might say yes, but it's changing. It changes all the time. So I don't know.
I guess I'm not traditional because I'm not trying to waste my money is all I'm saying.
It's also interesting to think about not even what you or who you would invite to your wedding, but thinking about being an invitee or not being invited to other people's weddings, because I'm sure that there is a list of people that, like your friend, for example, who was just in that situation, who was like, well, do I invite them or do I deal with the backlash when I don't? Would you want to be invited to theirs, or would not being invited to theirs be like a relief to you? Because there are so many people in my life that I'm like kind of close with, but like kind of not, where I'm like, it would make sense to get invited to their wedding, but if they didn't invite me, I would not be offended whatsoever. In fact, I'll keep my Saturday free and I won't feel guilty about it.
I also think it's a different conversation for you and I to have versus other people. For example, you and I have been, regardless of like work, you and I have been to a million weddings in our lives because we have so many cousins. We have so many like different friend groups. Like we have so many family friends. We have been to a lot of weddings in our lives. I have friends or like people that I speak to just even through the grapevine, like at a party because they're friends of friends, who have been to 3 weddings in their life. And I've had people say to me like, oh, do you think you'll be invited to so-and-so's wedding? I know you're like kind of friends with them or like acquaintances or whatever. And I've said like, no, probably not. And they'll be like, oh, is that weird? And I'm like, no, I don't think it's weird. I've gone to so many weddings. It's not that deep to me. And I understand why you have to make the cuts you have to make. Like you can't just invite someone that you were friends with in college and you still have mutual friends. So you see each other at parties, but you don't go out of your way to hang out with them. Like, why would I be invited to their wedding? Why would they waste their money on me? Why would I waste my Saturday night? We're not that close. Like, but I still, no hard feelings when I see you at, you know, the Memorial Day picnic. I still want to hang out with you and I want to hear about your wedding because congrats. But what? No, don't invite me. Like, we're cool.
Wait, okay.
We're just cool.
I need to read the next story because it really goes along with what you were just saying, like talking about a wedding that you're not invited to. Considering not going to a friend's destination wedding after she talked at length about the Bachelorette in front of me, and I'm not invited. A friend I have known for about 8 years is getting married this year. We lived in the same city in our 20s and were very close at that time, but I ended up moving to another city. Although we don't live in the same city anymore, I definitely still considered her a good friend, as whenever we caught up, it was like no time passed and there were good efforts on both ends to stay in touch. I didn't expect to be in the bridal party because I know she had a lot of close childhood friends and a lot of friends in general, but I figured she would have a larger bachelorette and I was a good enough friend to get an invitation for that. But she recently visited me in my city along with another mutual friend and mentioned her bachelorette party in passing a couple of times. Eventually, at one point, she started talking to the other friend about bachelorette party planning drama. She did not acknowledge my lack of invite or loop me in on the convo at all. I just sat there in silence mostly, chiming in occasionally to make it less awkward. Honestly, even if she just acknowledged it and gave me some excuse as to why I wasn't invited, it's bridesmaids only, they didn't want me to have to travel, etc., I think I would be totally fine. I just think it's insensitive to speak of it in front of me. I would never speak about something like this in front of someone who wasn't invited because I wouldn't want them to feel left out, even if they were an acquaintance, let alone someone I consider a friend. Anyhow, it has given me pause because I already didn't want to go to the wedding. For travel and lodging, it will cost me $1,200 to $1,500 for the weekend, and I'm in between jobs right now. The thing is, if I don't go to the wedding, I imagine it will hurt what's left of the friendship, even though it's a big wedding. Am I wrong for not wanting to spend the money to go to the wedding after being treated this way? Am I being too sensitive?
I feel like you're not wrong for not wanting to go to the wedding and spending the money, period. When it comes to not being invited to the Bachelorette, that's like a different story because I see why you're upset. Like, it's rude to be like, we're going on a group trip and you're not invited. That's weird. That's very weird. But I also strongly believe that not everyone can be invited to everything. So I don't know, maybe they should have said like there is a line drawn, you know, if it is just bridesmaids or something like that. Like, for example,
what if it's not though?
So that I don't know. So that's where I'm saying that maybe they shouldn't have brought it up. That's insensitive on their part. For example, when this was during COVID, I was in school still. So I was only working part-time, like nights and weekends around the clock to pay for school. So I didn't have to take out a loan. I had like no money. I was so poor. I was in multiple weddings. So I was, buying dresses, paying for bachelorettes, bridal showers, things like that. I had other friends getting married and they were like, well, do you want to come on the Bachelorette? All of our friends are invited. And I hit a point where I had to be like, I can't afford this. I can only afford what I am required to do. And that is, if I agreed to be a bridesmaid, I have to buy the dress. And if I agreed to be a bridesmaid in my heart, I'm not saying this is the standard for everyone, but to me, that meant agreeing to go on The Bachelorette. So if I had to pay for that, I was going to do it. So I hit a point where I told my friends, I'm sorry, and this is not me trying to sound bitter, but I'm only going on The Bachelorette if I am a bridesmaid. And that is because that is what I committed to when I agreed to be a bridesmaid. I'm not a bridesmaid, so I'm not going. It is not that. It was, I can't afford these bachelorettes, so I'm going to go to the ones that I have to go to because I committed to being in the wedding. And that's where I kind of like drew the line. So looking at it from the other perspective, maybe they're thinking like, we have so many people, I have to draw the line somewhere. But also by no means am I going to sit there and be like, oh, I'm not going to your bachelorette, but let me tell you all about this one I am going on. That's weird to me. So I'm just trying to look at it from both sides because I was the person on the side that was like, I have to not commit to things. So I wonder if there was a reason for not inviting that girl. But I do agree that it was just inappropriate of them to bring it up.
Yeah, I had mixed feelings because at first I was like, oh, that is like really, really weird. But at the same time, I'm imagining certain friends of mine talking about it. And these are not people that I consider like a close friend, but I am maybe good friends with them. And I feel like there's a difference.
Yes.
Maybe you're like consistent friends with someone, but you're not best friends with them. And there is like a slight difference. I don't exactly know how to describe it without giving like examples, which I can't do. But like if it was a best friend or a really, really close friend, I do think it would be very rude and uncalled for. And like, you can't read the room. Like, that's just a rude choice. But if it's just a normal friend, like someone you don't consider your best friend, but you're friends with them, friendly with them, are you never allowed to talk about plans you have with people unless they were invited?
Right.
So are you never allowed to bring up an event that you're planning, your event, with anyone that's not invited because it will come off as rude, or I guess a friend, I shouldn't say anyone, with any friend or family member that's not invited, because that's like kind of a weird rule too. And I'm thinking of people in my life that I love them, I want to hang out with them, I want to maintain friendships with them. I will not be invited to their bachelorette. And I'm happy with that because I don't want to commit to every bachelorette. Like everyone I know, if I was invited to their bachelorette, I'd be like, okay, this is a bit much. I would also have to draw a line. So I don't want to be invited, but I also wouldn't invite them to mine. And I would never expect an invitation to theirs.
Right.
But if they were talking about their bachelorette in front of me, I wouldn't think twice about it. I would be like, oh, wow, that's so interesting. I would never assume that I was invited, and I wouldn't think it's weird that they're talking about a thing that's going on in their life because I'm their friend. So I am who they should be talking to about life events.
That's how I feel about some of these weddings. Like, I understand why I'm not invited to your wedding. We are not best friends. We're not like super close, but we were close in college, and I still see you at our mutual friend parties all the time, and I want to talk to you. I want to catch up, but we don't hang out one-on-one. We're not best friends. We're not super close friends. I would consider them a friend, like, sure, but let's all be real. We can't invite all of our friends to our weddings because I have a lot of friends that I don't get to see all the time. Like, you just have to invite your close friends, right? So I don't think twice when they're like, oh, you know, we're looking at wedding venues. I'm like, oh my God, tell me, I want to hear. But by no means am I expecting an invite. I think if you really believe you're that close with this person and to the point where it's upsetting you this much, I think that if you actually are that close, you should be able to have that conversation. Like, hey, I'm just curious. Like, I thought we were close. I just want to know, like, why wasn't I invited on the Bachelorette? Like, I don't know. I'm thinking in terms of a situation I was in during COVID. I had a lot of weddings, and I kind of drew the line where I was like, I was in school and I couldn't afford to catch COVID, because if I caught COVID, I would miss 2 weeks of school and I literally would fail out of my like accelerated program. And when all of these weddings were going on, I hit a point where I was like, you know what? I'm only going to go to outdoor weddings where I can wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart from people, but I'm not in a closed room where everyone's breathing the same air and things like that. And I'm thinking of like a good friend that I have who I love very dearly, got married during COVID, had an indoor 200-person wedding. And I was like, I can't go to this. Like, I can't afford to catch COVID and get sick at this point in my life. And I did go to another wedding down the road, you know, within a couple months, but it was all outdoors. It was less people, things like that. And it offended her that I chose to go to one wedding and not the other. But because we're adults and we are good enough friends, she reached out and was like, hey, you know, I don't want there to be any bad blood. I'm just wondering, like, why are you choosing to go to... And they did the whole, like, we're not going to be offended if you say you can't come to our wedding because of COVID, so just let us know. But she was offended that I was like, yes, I'll go to one wedding and not the other. So she asked me about it, and I was like, look, like this... And I told her X, Y, and Z. I was like, I understand why you're upset. I understand where you're coming from, why you're bringing this up, but I just hope you can see my thought process in choosing which weddings I went to, you know, back and forth. And she was like, yes, thank you for explaining yourself. Yeah. So I think that as an adult who can have an adult conversation with a close friend, you should be able to ask with no hard feelings and hold an adult conversation. Hey, why wasn't I invited? I'm just curious. If you were like, oh, it's maybe not only bridesmaids, but it's only bridesmaids and family, or only bridesmaids and this friend group or something. Okay, then maybe you can explain to me why I wasn't invited. Yeah. But if they can't explain to you, oh, I just didn't invite you, well then, yeah, maybe you have a right to be upset.
But at the same time, like... Do you need a reason to not invite
No, but I'm saying if they're as close as she thinks they are.
Yeah, that's what I think you just need to like reevaluate your like how close you are with her, because I feel like it's a sliding scale, because in my opinion, like you cannot just make this rule that you can't talk about events in your life with anyone who's not invited. That's just unrealistic and flat out dumb in my opinion. So I think that if the only reason you're upset is because she's talking about it, I think that's a bad reason to be upset. You're allowed to talk about life events that other people are not invited to.
Absolutely.
But I also think it's a sliding scale of like not, because if you were talking to a coworker about it who you're not that close with, it's like, yeah, we're just talking about my wedding. I'm not telling you you're invited. We're just talking about it. Like a coworker wouldn't just be expecting to be invited. And then I also have friends that I am like mid-tier friends with that I wouldn't expect to be invited to their bachelorette. They wouldn't be invited to mine. But if they spoke about their bachelorette in front of me, it wouldn't even like like I wouldn't think anything about it at all. I'd be like, wow, that's crazy. Like it's going to be so fun for you when you go. Like I don't know. I wouldn't think twice about like, why are they talking about it with me in front of me, but I'm not invited? Like it's fine. But then it's like on the sliding scale of like relationships, it's like, okay, now we're close friends. I would be like, okay, I wonder if I'm going to be invited. And then it's like, if you're getting offended, like if you're close enough with the person that they would be offended to not be invited, maybe that's the level that you don't talk about the event with.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to get at. If you are truly as close with this person as you say you are, and there was no line drawn as to why you shouldn't be invited because you're not a bridesmaid, whatever, then yeah, you have the right to be upset. But maybe you're not as close as you think you are. What is why you need to have a conversation. Yeah. Let's be adults. Let's have the conversation. Yeah. Don't just like get pouty and upset. Maybe there is a reason. Maybe your guys aren't that close and that's fine. But I don't think just being like, I wasn't invited to the Bachelorette, so I'm not going to go to the wedding. No. But if the wedding is truly, it was already going to be a strain for you because you're between jobs and it's very expensive and you were already on the fence about it, sure, don't go. No one's going to fault you for that. But it can't just be a strictly like, I was invited to her Bachelorette. I'm not going to waste my money on her wedding. It's like, well, there's a reason there's Bachelorettes and there's a reason there's weddings. It's because you have a smaller group at one. Yeah. You know, I don't.
And also like think about the reason that you're upset. Are you actually upset that you weren't invited? Or do you have a weird taste in your mouth because you think it's like not polite to talk about plans that you're not invited to? Because if that's the problem, then I feel like you should probably get over that. Like you're allowed to talk about plans with people that aren't going to the plans. Let's do another one. This is going to flow nicely because you ended your thought with talking about money. So basically this person is too broke to go to a bachelorette.
The world revolves around money.
I was invited to my sister's bachelorette party in May. My dilemma is that her friends want $500 for the accommodations and $650 down for food, drinks, activities, and cars to get there. I'm currently unemployed and blah, 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 blah. Doesn't matter your reason. Her friends said that I could take out a loan or ask my parents for the cash and then pay them back. Could you imagine if someone told you, I can't go because I can't afford it? Could you imagine saying back to them, oh, well, you could just take out a bank loan?
Someone said this to me one time.
What?
Wait, I'm not kidding. The person that I was dating for a very long time, there was a point in life where like all of his friends were getting married and his one buddy's wife was like, when are you guys going to get married to us? And we were both just kind of like, and we were both very happy where we were. Like there was no pressure. Like we weren't like, oh, we better get a move on or we better, cut this off. Like we were just happy. We were so content. When are you going to get married? And we were both like, I don't know. Like, we're in no rush. Like, we don't have the money. Like, like, who cares? And she's just like, oh, but is that really the reason? And I was like, oh, well, let's be so for real. I just came out of, getting my second degree in school. I've only been working for a little bit amount of time. I am certainly not rich. I would love a high-end wedding. I can't afford a wedding right now. And she looks me dead in the eyes and goes, but your parents can. I was like,
how do you know that?
First of all, I was like, how do you know that? You're literally not my friend. You're my boyfriend's friend's wife. Like, you're not my friend. You don't know anything about my life. Second of all, yeah, they can. You don't know my relationship with my parents. What if they can afford it, but I don't speak to my parents? Third of all, I just don't want to take their money. I've never sat down with them and was like, are you going to pay for my wedding? Like, I'm sure that my parents would offer me money for my wedding, but I'm not going to just expect anything of my parents. The whole thing, I was like, there are so many things that pissed me off about that situation. And there is many people in this friend group that just like lived off of other people's tabs, and it drove me crazy. Like, this wasn't the first time that this type of conversation had come up. And I just was like, hit my breaking point with it. And I looked her in the eye and I was like, well, I don't do handouts like that. And then I got in trouble with my boyfriend. She's like, well, you can't. It's like, well, you can't say that because everyone in that friend group does do handouts and they're well aware of it. And you just like started a whole conversation. You just opened a whole can of worms that didn't need to be opened. And I was like, no, she opened it by saying I should take money from my parents. I was like, she opened that can. And he's like,
that's wild.
It's like, no, she didn't. And I'm like, whatever. She made the inappropriate comment.
Yeah, that's really weird.
It was so weird. And okay, maybe this situation is different because it's like you're asking for a couple hundred, not asking for $100,000 wedding. And it is your sister's bachelorette. So maybe saying like asking your parents for help isn't that weird because it's like, look, I can't afford to go on my sister's bachelor.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a different situation. A loan? Take out a loan to go in your sister's bachelor.
Imagine going to the bank and being like, hello, can I please have a loan of $850? They would laugh in your face. Like,
And
that's crazy.
you can give me interest and it's to go on a party trip.
Yeah.
What?
No, that's insane. That's actually insane.
Insane.
Something that I appreciated about our cousin who is having her bachelorette soon, she sent out a questionnaire in the very beginning of like the planning process, and it was like, what would you be able to try, like basically a bunch of locations where we could pick like, yes, I could go to that, yes, I couldn't, based off of like traveling there. And
yes,
like
she said, yes, I could go, yes, I couldn't.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I could go. No, I couldn't. Or maybe like I could make it work.
Far,
Something like,
or it's too expensive. Like, would you want to go yes or no? What are your options?
And one of the places on it was just like an extremely expensive travel destination that the houses are like thousands of dollars a night. And I was like, I am just going to not click this one because this is literally why she's asking.
Yeah.
She's asking, what will you feel comfortable with? And I just straight up don't feel like paying that much money to go on a bachelorette. I don't care who you are. Maybe if it was like, I mean, no, I don't even know. Like, I just don't want to spend that much money when we can have an equal experience in a neighboring town and it'll be half the price and just as fun. So in that questionnaire, I just was like, I'm just not going to click that one.
Yeah.
And also it was like way more travel was involved.
Yes.
But I was talking to my other friend about it who was invited, and she was like, oh my God, you didn't? I just clicked everything. And I was like, but I see
That's
why
why
you
they're
did that.
asking.
Like, you did that because you wanted to make like her experience the easiest and be like, here, I'll go anywhere for you. Like, it doesn't matter. But like, there is so much value in being honest, and you're going to have the least amount of resentment later on if you are honest now. And also the questionnaire was anonymous. So especially if it's anonymous, you can not click whatever you don't want to click.
Right.
But like when you're planning these trips, like don't commit to things you don't want to go to. Like that's your own fault. And then like that's,
I also
not that it's like sorry, I feel like I was like shit talking my friend when I'm like, that's your fault. But like you feel bad about these things and you feel overwhelmed about saying yes when you said yes from the beginning. If you didn't want to go, say no from the beginning or tell them the truth. That's what I was gonna say.
Yes. You have to commit to what you can commit to. Like, for example, in that questionnaire, I didn't say yes to everything, but it was also from a standpoint of not as much money as much as it was time. Like some of the places on there were like 8-hour drives away. And I was like, here's the thing. Can I afford this trip? Yes. Can I afford to take all these extra days off of work because 2 days are going to be straight travel days? And whereas if we could just go somewhere closer and spend the same amount of money, but just not have to spend the travel time. Yes, I can't afford the time. I can afford the money. And I was like, I don't want to say, yeah, sure, let's go to this place. And then the time comes and I can't get off work. It is impossible to get off work in the summer at my job. So if that place was chosen, I literally wouldn't be able to go. So, and I knew that. So I wasn't going to click it and be like, and then it come back and be like, well, you said you would go. And it's like, well, I would go. I would, but I can't.
Yeah.
So that's why, like it's one of those things where it's like, I understand that you want to make her experience more enjoyable and you're going to say, yes, I'll go to all of them. But if it is in the expensive one where I literally can't dish out the money, I said I would go, but I physically can't. Or I said I would go, but I literally can't get off work. So you have to do what you can, not what you would or want to do. Yeah.
And I feel like it's only going to help you too to be honest up front, because what if like the majority wins and the majority of people were like, I really don't want to go there and it's going to make me stressed, but I'm going to say yes just to be nice and try to make it easier on them. Well, now you just set yourself up for failure basically, and like months of stress and way harder planning and possibly harder conversations down the road, because you're like, well, I'm stretching my budget to go to this neighborhood and now I feel even more stressed about saying yes to the boat trip, the personal sommelier, the catering, the restaurants, the gifts, like everything else. So like just say yes to the things you actually can feel comfortable doing. Not the things you're like, well, I'll swing it for them, but I really, like, I'm not going to be happy about it.
Right.
Like, you don't have to do that.
Yes, absolutely.
And if someone's making you do that, they're probably not a good friend to you anyway. And of course, there's anomalies where, like, sure, I have probably gone, or I probably will go to destinations for people that aren't going to be my dream destination. Like, I feel like there's so many towns I'm going to come off as a hater right now. There are so many cities in the United States that people go to for bachelorettes, and I'm just like, why do you want to go there? Like, it's literally the middle of nowhere, but we all have to get on a plane to go to some random, like, small town in, like, some random state just because the house is cute. Like, there's cute houses literally in my parents' neighborhood, but like they have an in-ground pool, they look like a resort in the backyard, but like, I don't know, it's like if you're just going somewhere for a home and all you're doing is going to a home, like, why do we have to go to these bumblefuck towns or like random small cities in the United States that I have no desire to go to? Like, if we're gonna spend money, let's just do it. Let's just go to somewhere we actually want to go to.
Especially if it's like an average city and there's not like something that I need to see there.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, like a city, let's just rent that house in Philadelphia.
Yeah, or like New York, or just any other like city that actually has a draw.
Right.
Other than bachelorettes, because there are literally towns that probably 90% of their tourism is bachelorette parties. Like, if that's the town, I probably don't need to go there.
Yeah.
Let's go somewhere that's actually cool.
And I'm not talking like Nashville, where there's other, you need to see Nashville, but it's also like the biggest bachelorette destination.
I have one in my head that I'm not going to say because I don't want to offend people. And I know someone that went on a bachelorette there, but I'm just like, I would never choose to go to this like random city that has nothing to do other than a cute house with pink walls. Please.
Totally.
Anywhere else.
Totally. Yep.
Canceling for bachelorette parties. Should I still get charged? Oh, this is
what we just talked about too. Because we said just say up front that you have to cancel. So this is all right. Let's hear it.
I originally RSVP'd yes for a friend's bachelorette party weekend. It's going to be in Mexico for 4 days, so the cost was going to be around $300 to $400 for the flight from where I live, plus the cost of Airbnb, food, and other things to do, which I was okay spending.
All she had to say was it was in Mexico. We know it's pricey.
Yeah. I didn't pay attention to the group chat for over a month or so because of other travel plans and things going on. It turns out they discussed the Airbnb, and eventually the sister of the bride booked a house when I opened up the group chat. Now I'm screwed because at this point I would like to back out since other people I thought were attending are not, and I won't know anyone besides the bride. Plus, the bigger reason is after finding out that the cost of the Airbnb, $9,600. I know this bachelorette party week. Oh, but that's like split between.
Yeah, but we don't know how many people are going.
Right. I know this bachelorette party weekend is going to cost way more than I would have expected. So I informed the sister of the bride that I will not be able to attend anymore. And she stated that I would still be charged for the Airbnb because I was counted for during booking. Normally, I wouldn't have an issue with this because that makes sense. You get an Airbnb to accommodate the number of people staying. Wait, can I pause? I know there's more details, but my thought right now is I know earlier in the episode we were saying that like no answer is your answer.
But or like if she already said yes.
Yeah, like if you said yes, you're committed. But I think that if you are planning a bachelorette and you're trying to be like a reasonable and considerate person, you also have to realize that while you're planning the bachelorette, it is your number one priority. It's a top priority in your life. If you told your friend or your sister, I will plan it. You have to know that it's not everyone's number one thing. Other people have different things going on and they can't commit every single day to thinking about the planning of it because that's your job. So if you originally asked people and you said it's going to be $400 or however much it is, and they said yes to that, and then you decided to change it and now it's going to be $4,000, not getting a yes is not that person's fault, in my opinion. If I was planning someone's bachelorette and one of their friends said yes to $400 and I said, oh guys, by the way, now it's going to cost $2,000. Is everyone still good? I would not book that and account for everyone unless I specifically got a text from them. And if they weren't answering the group chat, that's when, as a planner of someone that committed to plan the bachelorette, you need to send an individual text and make sure. Or that's your fault. I
completely agree. But was that the case here?
Well, so far, it seems like that was the case.
No, I don't think it does. They didn't say anything about the price going up. She just said that she said yes, and then she didn't pay attention, and now she's committed. She never said anything about the price going up.
3 to 4. Okay, but I didn't pay attention to the group chat. Okay, yeah. So you're right. She didn't say. I thought the $300 for the Airbnb, that was for the flight. Okay, so I guess she said yes without knowing the cost, and then they just happened to book an extremely expensive place to stay. Okay, So normally I wouldn't have an issue with this because that makes sense. You get an Airbnb to accommodate the number of people staying. The reason I have a problem this time is because there are a total of 12 people counted for, but they booked a house that accommodates 20 plus people for sleeping, which is one of the reasons why it costs so much. I mean, why the
Yeah.
So the group chat said my share would be about $800 for 4 days. The group decided to pay for the bride share also.
No.
See, that's another thing.
You need to ask the group to do that.
That you need to say, hey, we're going to book this and don't count the bride because is everyone okay with paying for the bride's
You need to
part?
say that ahead of time too.
Yeah. Like so far, I feel like this is on the planner.
Yeah.
It's partially on the writer, but
I really feel they're equally at fault right now.
Yeah.
Keep
The
going.
planner is also taking liberties.
Yeah.
I went through the chat thread and I didn't see why they went for a house that sleeps so many people, but they were focused on the number of beds when searching. Someone suggested other Airbnbs sleeping 12 people, but we were told it's not big enough. I heard from someone that people don't want to share beds. See, that's another thing that that would piss me off too, because if there's a house of 12, but there's 6 queen or king beds and people are like, well, I just want my own room. It's like, maybe you're just not compatible travel partners. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I was surprised by this because I thought it was the norm to share beds, and there are even groups of girls who know each other. Like I mentioned, I don't know anyone besides the bride, and she's not involved in the planning, but even then I would have been okay sharing a bed with someone for a weekend. I know it's my fault. I shouldn't have been MIA during the planning process and taken myself out of the group before they booked a house. I just feel like they were going to be getting such a big house no matter if I was counted for, and that's why I have a problem paying for the Airbnb. See, that's a good point too, because
I'm very torn about this.
Yeah, me too.
Because I agree with everything she's saying. And she even made her own argument. I shouldn't have committed and then I should have backed out and I should have been MIA. She made her own argument. It's that right there. Yeah, you have to pay. You absolutely have to pay. But this is ridiculous. Absolutely. Getting all these extra bedrooms and this, that, and the other. But at the same time, she would have known this was happening if she had paid attention. And I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's not everyone's priority to be involved in the planning of everything, but to commit to something and then go MIA for a full month.
Yeah, that is crazy.
It's not like they were like, hey, we're going to book this weekend, and then they booked by Sunday and you were away for the weekend. And no.
Yeah.
You really did not pay attention for a full month. You could have known in a couple of weeks that this was the conversation and been like, A, multiple people already backed out. B, they're going way over and beyond what I thought was going to be included. You would have known multiple things that you said made you want to back out, and you kind of did that to yourself.
Yeah, I do think that if you commit to something, you also have to be realistic and be they need to make plans.
Right.
They can't just be waiting on you to answer every text message.
Although your point that was, Kelee agreed to plan it, but yeah, sure, count me in. I still agreed to be counted in. So I have to be present for yeses and nos.
I definitely see both sides of it. And as someone who has planned multiple group trips and has had people flake on me and whatever, I also see it from the planning side where this isn't really a solution to this problem yet, but as a planner, you should be realistic in thinking that people are flaky. If you ask any reasonable person, do people tend to flake on bachelorettes or group trips, especially when the cost starts adding up? I think most reasonable people could be yeah, you know what, I could see that happening. You need to also be a good planner and think to yourself, I'm gonna put this on my credit card, I'm gonna cover my own ass and make sure that I have it in writing. Yes, I will pay $4,000 or $800 from every single person, because if it was me and I couldn't cover that, I wouldn't trust people enough to put my card down if I didn't know that they were 100% okay with spending this much. So I feel like it's partially on the planner.
Yeah.
But I do think this girl made mistakes too. I don't know. It's really hard.
This is really hard because the planner took way too many liberties.
Yes, definitely.
To say I'm going to book a house that's going to cost double what we thought it was going to cost, or just so everyone can get their own room, I would be like, excuse me? I would sleep on the fucking couch if we could have gotten a smaller house.
Right.
That is ridiculous. And I know that, again, this is not her solution either, but if I'm paying that, I'm going on the trip. If I'm gonna pay that kind of money, I'd be like, you know what, I might only know the bride, but a trip to Mexico is a trip to Mexico, and I'm paying for it regardless. So and you get your own room. So
I also think that if people were on the fence about like booking their own room or not, like then divvy up the price differently. Like if you want your own room, you should be a good friend, like, and be considerate of other people enough to say, hey, I want my own room, so I am willing to pay the price, like break it up by bedroom rather than the cost of the house per night or something like that.
Yeah, because if you and I are willing, she even said she's willing to share a bed with someone she doesn't know. And truly in a situation like that, I am too. Like, I don't really care that much.
Yeah.
If I'm willing to share a bed because my budget is $400 for the house and everyone else wants their own rooms, but their budget is $1,000 for the house, then they can pay for their own rooms and I'm going to share with who I said I would share with because I can't afford my own room.
Yeah. Wait, also, but even still, like, I don't get why they booked a room or why they booked a house for 20 people, because that seems crazy. Like, because I guess they're getting 12 bedrooms.
Probably.
Like, if everyone, okay, I see.
Yep.
She has a few more details at the end. How can I tell the group, or specifically the sister of the bride, that I don't want to pay since they were booking a big house anyway? Like, I see that point too. It's not a foolproof point, but I see the point that she's attempting to make.
I completely see her point because it's not like, okay, we can only afford a house for 10 people and 10 of us are going and you just backed out and now we're at 9. No,
right.
They were booking a 20-person house with or without you.
Right. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That I think
so
she's
I understand her point, and I am furious at the planner for just going ahead and doing all this. But I think I'm hitting a point where, like, oh, it breaks my heart, but she has to pay.
Yeah. Okay, continuing on. Is there any way to get out of paying? I am now added to the Splitwise group for the weekend and being charged $880. It just doesn't make sense to me why they were getting a huge house, so me coming or not didn't matter. I mean, she doesn't necessarily know that because maybe they did decide 12 bedrooms. Like, maybe they're not looking at 20. They then changed to the amount of bedrooms.
And they got her one. Yeah.
And they got her one. Yeah. I also don't want to cause issues with the bride, so rather not involve her. I never should have said yes in the first place without asking for costs up front, but I thought it would be a fun girls trip and I didn't think about it enough.
I am sick because
I know.
That's like rounded. That's $1,000.
Oh, it's more than that.
I'm saying for the hotel, for the house.
Oh, yeah.
Like rounded, that's $1,000, which makes me sick when it's like not something that you were planning for. But like, I don't want to put her at fault because way too many liberties were taken and this is not her fault. But I just kind of stand by, like, we did plan for you to be there and you never said you weren't going to go. Why are you going to do it after we booked the house?
Yeah, I think if it's refundable, then you could find a new house and plead your case. Do all the work.
Yes. Do the legwork.
Find the house, contact the booking agent. Oh, I guess it's Airbnb, so it's even easier. If it's refundable, do everything you can to find a cheaper house that you could afford and send the option and hope that the girls are understanding. Or you suck it up and pay it and you either go or you don't. Or if you can't pay it, you have to tell them you can't pay it and that's it. I mean, it's probably going to end your friendship or it's going to make people really mad at you for a long time. And maybe you're not going to get invited on another group trip. And maybe the sister of the bride is going to hate you forever. And if she hates you forever, like,
but it also, like, if it comes down
like,
to, like, you can't afford it. Like, so what if you were like, yeah, I budgeted $800 for this trip, $400 for the hotel, $300 for the flight, period. Now you're expecting me to pay all of this on the hotel or the house, whatever. I literally can't afford this.
Yeah.
Period. So you just put something on my plate that I can't afford. Like, you can hate me as much as you want, but I don't have $800 and whatever to give you. So go ahead, be mad. I literally can't do it. And it's one thing, but at the same time, she committed.
I know. And she just didn't read the text because...
And that's on her.
Yeah, exactly. This is so hard. I feel like, I mean, obviously in black and white, it's like you committed to a trip, you have to pay for it. But I feel like black and white doesn't exactly matter when you add context. And there's so much context here that I'm like, okay, if it was me, I would be like, guys, I got busy and like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm wondering if they gave a estimated price in the beginning. Yeah. Because I think if they gave any sort of estimated price in the beginning, and went way above that when they decided on this 20-person house, I think that she's not in the wrong.
Right.
If it's like double what it would have been, I think that's on the planner and that's on the girls, because the planner committed to planning and should have sent an individual text and said, confirming that you're okay with this.
Right.
Get an answer in black and white. Don't assume anything when that much money is involved.
Mm-hmm.
If there was never a set price in the beginning, there was never a ballpark, this girl just assumed. I just think that the girl's sister is going to book a house that costs $300.
That's reasonable, yeah.
I just think that, but I've never asked about it. I've never talked to anyone.
Yeah.
Then it's on you. I think that is where my like real opinion lies, if it was like my life or my friends.
I think, okay, but so let's answer this girl's question. Do you think she has to pay it?
I think it depends on if they picked a ballpark in the beginning. If it was a ballpark in the beginning that the house was going to be, well, see, the thing is the house is $880. If they sent a ballpark and the house was $440 or less, then I think she can be like, guys, I never committed to this. I will pay $440. That's all I can do. I'm sorry. I physically have no more dollars than that.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, sure, you don't have to pay it. But if there was never a ballpark price, if this girl just said, hey guys, Mexico, ? And in your mind, you were just like, yeah, if it costs less than $500, but you never voiced that, then that's on you.
Yes. Okay. I guess I agree with you. It comes down to what was said at the beginning. My problem, my caveat to everything you just said is, yeah, mistakes were made. We can say that, this, that, and the other. But what it comes down to is like, you made the mistake. You didn't read the group chat for a full month. And I understand you were busy. You had other stuff going on. I ignore texts for a month. I get it. But if there is money that I don't know if I can afford on the line and there's a trip being booked, you went MIA. Like,
yeah, it is
on
her
you.
fault.
It is your fault. And like, you had a month to chime in and be like, guys, like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And you didn't.
And especially because being realistic, like I was saying earlier, that the planner has to be realistic and know that people are going to flake. The writer also has to be realistic and know that Bachelorette trips add up extremely quickly.
Right.
And it's really easy for girls who are planning a trip with all their best friends to go crazy and be like, you know what, guys, let's just book this amazing house.
Yeah.
And let's just upgrade. Let's just do it up.
And you also have to realize that although it's not your priority and, you have other stuff going on, the trip is being planned. You can't just be like, sure, I'm in, and then leave it up to them if you can't afford to leave it up to them. Like, if money is not an object for you and you really can just be like, yep, I'm in, count me in for whatever, fine.
Yeah, ignore
But
it.
if you can't do that, then you have to be present.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, sure, I'm in. Like, you have to, and like, because they can't wait around for you to say no either. If they're in the group chat like, hey, is everyone in? And everyone's like, yeah, I'm in, and you don't answer, but you had already said you were in previously, we got to book the house.
I know.
Houses get booked. I can't just like wait around and be like, she's probably a no now that she hasn't answered. No, you already committed. You said yes. If you had said maybe, then maybe, whatever.
Yeah, or gave a budget, a max budget. I can go if it's under X, Y, and Z.
No, but if you said, yeah, I'm in.
Regardless.
And you didn't answer, I'd be like, well, you said you were in. So what, whatever. Like, you got to pay it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if there was a different number set at the beginning that you were like, yes, I'm in, and this is way over that, okay, then you can make that argument. And if you don't pay it, like, be prepared to be uninvited to the wedding.
Yeah.
Be prepared to take the hit,
Be prepared to lose a friend.
Right. Because you made a mistake,
Yeah, you made a mistake.
But
yeah.
But if there really was no number tossed around, you're like, yeah, I'm in. Which, I just gave this example at the beginning of this podcast. I said, this happened to a friend where someone committed and then just like never paid and never showed up. We're not talking a trip to Mexico though. We're talking a trip to the Jersey Shore, and it was a couple hundred, like, which I know that the person who flaked probably could have afforded, so it was a different story. But at the same time, had that person said, oh my God, this is way more than I thought it was going to be, I'm sick to my stomach, I can't pay this, it's a different conversation.
Yeah.
It's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Than just being like, no, I'm not paying it. I'm not paying it.
I feel like this is a lesson for me, though, if I am ever planning another group trip or a bachelorette. Like, I'm not putting a credit card down for shit until I have it in writing and we have a written contract via a text message that you are paying this amount and it doesn't matter if you come or not. Yeah. Actually, that's a really good way to go about, like, making plans for things. Like, saying saying in the beginning, guys, if you say yes right now, we're all going to make a written commitment to each other that regardless of if you show up or not, you are paying this amount for the house.
Right, because we counted for you to be in it.
Yeah, and if you don't want to commit to that, that's
We're
fine.
getting a smaller house.
We're getting a smaller house, and if you decide to go, you can pay whatever you owe to sleep on an air mattress or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's definitely different caveats to each little bit of planning for sure. This is a lesson on both sides. And even if you're not the planner, but you're like, sure, I'm in, keep up with it. Stay on top of it. Don't just be like, sure, I'm in, and let it go for a full month.
Unless you literally don't care.
Right. You're
along for the ride regardless.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Damn. So much drama.
That sucks.
I feel like we slayed, especially the last one.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much for listening to our podcast. Hope you liked it. Tell us all the things you agreed with or didn't agree with in our discussion.
And also send us your Bachelorette/group trip party drama because, I mean, we just went on a group trip within the last month and we are actively planning another one. So, like, save our butts now. Tell us what happened to you so that we're prepared for the next one.
I hope something crazy happens at this one so we have a good story. No,
I hope so. No, nothing bad, just something crazy.
Yeah, like we run into Taylor Swift.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you guys for listening. We love you. We appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.